Friendship is supposed to mean safety, trust, laughter, memories you build with people who swear they'd never hurt you. But sometimes the scariest stories don't begin with strangers. They start with friends, the ones who know your secrets, the ones who know where you live, the ones who smile across from you while hiding something you'll only see too late. Tonight, we'll dive into 6 true horror stories about bad friends, the kind that prove betrayal can be far more terrifying than any ghost. So grab your headphones, dim the lights, and listen closely, because these stories might make you question everyone you call a friend. Story 1. The Weekend Invitation. When Hannah first met Becca in college, they clicked instantly. Both studied art, loved late-night road trips, and could talk for hours about anything. By senior year, they were inseparable. People even joked they were like sisters. After graduation, life got busy. Becca moved to a small mountain town to get away from everything. She barely posted online, and when she finally texted Hannah out of the blue, her message seemed warm but odd. "Hey, haven't seen you in forever. You should come visit this weekend. I've got a little cabin outside town. No cell service, just peace and quiet. You'll love it." Hannah hesitated. She hadn't heard from Becca in nearly a year, but she'd just gone through a breakup, needed a change of scenery, and nostalgia can be powerful. So she packed a bag and made the drive. The cabin was exactly like Becca described. Small, tucked in the woods, surrounded by tall pine trees that swallowed sound. Becca greeted her with a big hug, though something in her eyes looked tired, hollow. Inside, the place smelled faintly of damp wood and something metallic. "Sorry," Becca said quickly. "Pipes here are old. You get used to it." They spent the afternoon catching up, laughing, drinking wine, reminiscing about college. But by nightfall, the mood shifted. Becca grew quiet, distracted. She kept glancing at the window as if expecting someone. Hannah finally asked, "Are you okay?" Becca forced a smile. "Yeah, just haven't had company in a while." Later, as they sat by the fire, Becca asked strange questions. "Do you ever feel like people pretend to be your friends?" she said suddenly. "Like, they only hang out because they want something from you?" Hannah laughed awkwardly. "I mean, I guess." "Why?" Becca stared into the flames. "Because I've been thinking about that a lot, about what people take and what they deserve." Hannah brushed it off as post-breakup bitterness until she noticed the basement door behind the kitchen. It was padlocked from the outside. "Hey," she asked lightly, "what's with the lock?" Becca didn't look up. "Storage. Don't go down there." That night, Hannah couldn't sleep. The forest was silent, too silent. Then she heard it, a scraping sound, metal dragging against concrete, coming from beneath the floorboards. Her heart thudded. She sat up listening. The noise came again, slow, deliberate, like something being pulled across the basement floor. She crept into the hallway. The padlock on the basement door hung loose, open. Her hands shook as she reached for the doorknob. "Becca," she whispered. No answer. The door creaked open, releasing a cold breath of air that smelled of iron and mold. She aimed her phone light down the stairs. At the bottom, something glinted. Chains and a chair. Footsteps behind her. She spun. Becca stood in the dark, holding a hammer. "You shouldn't have come down here," she said softly. Hannah bolted. The hammer swung, missed by inches. She sprinted out the front door barefoot, branches tearing her arms as she ran into the trees. Behind her, Becca's voice echoed through the night. "You always thought you were better than me." Hannah didn't stop until she reached the highway. She flagged down a passing truck, sobbing. The police later found the cabin empty. Basement cleared, chains gone, floors scrubbed. Becca vanished. A month later, Hannah received a letter. No return address. Inside was a single note written in red ink. "Next time, don't leave me alone." Story 2. The Sleepover Pact. High school friendships always feel unbreakable. Promises made in the dark. Secrets whispered between midnight giggles and shared snacks. But for Emily, one innocent sleepover with her best friend turned into a nightmare she still can't fully explain. Emily met Claire when they were 10, both quiet, bookish, and inseparable. They spent weekends building the pillow forts and making up stories about haunted houses. But by their senior year, Claire had changed. She'd become colder, moodier, her eyes distant, as if she carried a secret she didn't want to share. One Friday night, Claire invited Emily over for a sleepover at her family's new house in the countryside. "It's super old," she said over the phone, her voice oddly flat. "Used to belong to some relatives. You'll love it. We can stay up late, just like old times." Emily hesitated. Claire had been off for weeks, missing school, ignoring texts. But nostalgia got the better of her. She packed a bag and took the bus out to the edge of town. The house sat at the end of a long dirt road, surrounded by tall cornfields that whispered in the wind. Its windows were dark, and a single porch light flickered. Claire greeted her at the door, smiling too wide. "You made it!" Inside, the house smelled faintly of dust and lavender. The furniture looked antique. Old portraits stared from the walls, faces fading into yellowed paper. Claire's parents weren't home. "They're gone for the weekend," she said quickly. "It's just us." They ordered pizza, watched movies, laughed like nothing was wrong. For a few hours, it felt like being kids again. But after midnight, the mood shifted. Claire grew quiet. She muted the TV and stared at Emily. "Do you remember the pact we made when we were 12? She asked softly. Emily frowned. "What pact?" Claire smiled. "The one where we said we'd always be together." "No matter what." Emily laughed uneasily. "That was a joke, Claire." "We were kids." Claire didn't blink. "I meant it." Silence stretched between them. Then Claire stood and said, "I want to show you something." She led Emily upstairs to a small room at the end of the hall. The door creaked open to reveal walls covered in photos. Dozens of them. Everyone was of Emily. Some were from school, some from social media, but others were not. Photos of her walking home, eating lunch alone, sleeping in her bedroom. Emily's breath caught. "Claire, what is this?" Claire's voice dropped to a whisper. "Proof. Proof that I've always been here. Watching, keeping you safe." Emily stepped back, her pulse racing. "This isn't okay." Claire's expression twisted. "You broke the pact, Emily. You said we'd always be together. Then you made new friends. You forgot about me." Emily ran for the stairs, heart pounding. Claire followed, her footsteps heavy and fast. "Don't leave!" she screamed. "You don't get to leave me again!" Emily grabbed her shoes, yanked the front door open, but the night outside looked wrong. The cornfields rippled like waves, and somewhere deep within them came the sound of rustling, slow, surrounding. She sprinted into the dark, stalks slapping her face, phone light bouncing wildly. Behind her, Claire's voice echoed, "We promised, Emily! We promised forever!" Emily didn't stop until she saw headlights on the road. She burst from the cornfield, waving down a passing car. The driver, an older woman, slammed on the brakes and jumped out. "Honey, are you okay?" Emily sobbed, pointing back at the field. But when the woman looked, there was nothing there. No house lights, no Claire. When police investigated later, they found the house empty and cold. It had been abandoned for nearly 5 years. The photos on the walls were real, but some dated back further than Emily could remember taking them. Her family moved soon after. She changed her number, deleted her social media, started therapy. But even now, years later, she still gets anonymous emails with photos attached. Photos of her walking to work, sitting in cafes, sleeping in her new apartment. The subject line always says the same thing: "You promised forever." Story 3. The beach trip. Some friendships end with a fight. Others end with silence. But for Michael, his ended with something much darker. Something he can't explain, even years later. It started when his college friends planned a summer getaway. 6 of them: Michael, Jason, Lila, Chris, Tessa, and Kevin. They rented a beach house 2 hours from the city. A weekend of barbecues, beers, and nostalgia. Jason organized everything. He was the confident one, always smiling, always loud. The kind of guy who made people feel like life was one big inside joke. Michael admired him once, until that trip. The house was beautiful but old, sitting right on the water's edge. The owner had warned them, "Don't go swimming after dark. The tide here is unpredictable." They laughed it off, of course. The first night, everything was perfect. Food, music, laughter. But when midnight came, Jason said, "Let's do something real. Let's go night swimming. One last college memory before we all grow up." Tessa hesitated. The owner literally said not to. Jason grinned. "Come on. What's life without a little danger?" Half the group agreed, half didn't. Michael didn't want to, but Jason kept teasing. "Don't be such a dad, Mike. It's just the ocean." So they went. The beach was empty, the sky heavy with stars. The water was black and still, reflecting faint moonlight. The moment Michael stepped in, he felt how cold it was. Unnaturally cold, like ice rushing through his veins. Jason dove in first, laughing. "See? Totally fine." But the deeper they went, the darker it got. The waves began to shift, pulling harder, dragging at their legs. Lila called out, "Guys, let's go back." But the tide surged suddenly, knocking her off balance. Michael grabbed her arm, pulling her upright. Jason was farther out now, treading water. But something about the way he moved looked wrong, like he was fighting against something unseen. "Jason!" Michael yelled. "Come back!" Jason didn't answer. He just stared, his face pale, eyes wide. And then he vanished beneath the surface. They screamed his name, splashing toward where he'd been, but the current grew violent, dragging them away. Michael barely made it back to shore, coughing up seawater. The others stumbled after him, gasping, crying. They called the police. The Coast Guard searched until dawn. No sign of Jason. The official report listed him as drowned. Strong undercurrent, high-risk area. But Michael couldn't shake the image of Jason's face before he went under. Not fear, not pain, but recognition. Like he'd seen something, or someone he knew. The next day they packed in silence. As they were leaving, the owner met them on the porch, pale and shaking her head. "Young man," she said, "you shouldn't have gone out there. Not after dark, not where the others went missing." Michael froze. "What others?" She looked out at the sea. "A group of kids, 15 years ago. Same night, same tide. They said one of them called out something before he went under, like he saw a friend waiting for him beneath the water." That night back home, Michael couldn't sleep. He sat by his window, staring into the darkness. The sound of the ocean still echoed in his ears, though he lived miles inland. Then his phone buzzed. Unknown number, one message. "You said we'd make one last memory." Attached was a photo, a selfie of Jason, wet hair plastered to his face, standing ankle-deep in black water. His eyes were hollow. Behind him, faintly visible under the surface, were several blurred shapes, like hands reaching up. Michael deleted the message immediately, but the number kept texting for days. Each time a new photo. Jason, a little closer to shore. By the end of the week, the final message arrived. "I made it back." That night, Michael woke to the sound of dripping, salt water, pooling beneath his bed. He looked up, and there was Jason standing in the dark corner of the room, his clothes soaked, sand clinging to his skin. Jason smiled faintly. "You were right," he whispered. The tide was unpredictable. And then he was gone. When police arrived the next morning, they found wet footprints leading from the door to Michael's bed and stopping there. The ocean was over 50 miles away. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones we should fear the most. They know what scares us, what comforts us, what breaks us. And when that trust is twisted, friendship becomes something far darker. These stories remind us that evil doesn't always come with red eyes or ghostly screams. Sometimes it smiles at you across the dinner table. It laughs with you around a campfire. It rides in the passenger seat on the way home, and when it finally shows its true face, it's already too late. If these true horror stories kept you on edge tonight, go ahead and hit that like button. It lets us know you want more stories that crawl under your skin long after the video ends. Drop a comment below and tell us. Have you ever had a friend who gave you a bad feeling, but you ignored it? Your story might just inspire our next video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. Dash your place for true horror stories, real-life nightmares, and chilling encounters from people just like you. Every week, we open the vault to reveal a new side of fear, because the scariest stories are always the true ones. So sleep tight, and remember, the next time your phone lights up with a text from an old friend, ask yourself one question.